Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So last week on Instagram, I asked my audience, what is your biggest struggle when it comes to keeping your desk organized? And a number of responses had to do with papers, like accumulating different types of papers and what to do about them. In this video, I'm going to share how I keep my papers organized, specifically in the categories of mail, receipts, manuals, letters and cards from loved ones, and kids' artwork. If any of the categories I listed are irrelevant to you, just replace it with one that makes sense for you. But I'd say the key elements here are 1, everything has a designated place, and 2, being decisive about what to do with each piece of paper. So I hope you find this video helpful. First things first, I don't keep any of the above at my desk. And this may be surprising to you, but for me, what's really important is that I minimize distractions at my desk so that when I'm here working, I feel peaceful and productive. This is where I spend most of my time when I'm at home. Now, if I have a pile of paper on my desk that's unsorted and it needs my attention, I know that's gonna stress me out and I'm not going to want to be here. Can you relate? So when it is time to deal with any of the 5 categories listed here, that is the only time that those papers will actually be on my desk, just during the time that I need to process them. So let's get into category number 1, which is mail. This includes bills, important documents, wedding invitations, snail mail from friends, or even store flyers and catalogs. There are 2 action items when it comes to mail. 1 is to discard it, and 2 is to deal with it and to respond to it. For me, the ones to discard include all the offers to open up a new credit card because I know that that's not something I'm interested in, store flyers, catalogs, all the marketing stuff. And on a side note, I have reached out to these companies to ask them to remove me from their mailing list. Now, while some of them have been awesome and have honored my request, unfortunately, many of them have not, and they still continue to send me junk. Regardless of that, the key thing here is to deal with the garbage or what you don't need immediately. Because if not, then I'll have to use energy and time later to deal with it. So the walk from my mailbox to my front door, I already know exactly what I'm tossing and it goes straight into the trash. So when it comes to mail, I know I'm going to keep. If it's going to take me less than 2 minutes to deal with it, then I will take care of it right away. So for example, we recently received our new car registration, and all I had to do with that was to take it out of the envelope, walk it over to our car in the driveway, and then put it into a little folder in our glove compartment. And I took care of it and it was done, and it took less than 2 minutes. When it comes to mail I want to keep, but I know it's going to take more than 2 minutes to process, this piece of mail goes into its appropriate inbox. So my husband Brandon has an inbox and I have an inbox. These inboxes serve as a catch-all place for each of us to deal with what we're responsible for. For example, if it's a bill for car insurance, it goes into my inbox because I pay the bills. And if it's something tax related, it'll go into Brandon's inbox because he takes care of the taxes. Now, after things go into their appropriate inboxes, I still have to process them. So 1, I have to make sure that I sit down and I pay the bill on time. 2, I have to make the decision of, do I want to keep the physical paper copy of this? Or 3, can I just scan it and store it electronically? In order to do that, I make an appointment with myself in my calendar. So once it's in my calendar, I treat it like an appointment I would have with a friend, and that's the time that I would sit down and take care of business. I won't be getting into details of how I do all of that in this video, but leave me a comment with the red crayon emoji if you'd be interested in seeing that. So to recap, what I do with my mail is number 1, I discard what I'm sure is garbage right away. Number 2, what I do need to keep, they go into their appropriate inboxes. Number 3, I schedule a time with myself in my calendar so that I can sit down and process my inbox. And this way, I'm pretty much guaranteeing myself that I don't have a pile of random papers sitting at my desk, or even worse, on our tiny dining table. Category number 2 is receipts. Once a week, I sit down and I check the receipts from our purchases with our online bank statements just to make sure that everything's on the same page. My husband and I have been using Mint for years to track our income and expenses. And what I do for our household is I sit down and I make sure that our purchases are categorized correctly. For example, if I have a receipt from Costco and I know that's for our groceries, if I log that in Mint, I know how much we spent on groceries at the end of the month. I have an on-the-go inbox box for receipts for when I'm out and about, like running errands. And that's just a fancy way of saying that my wallet has two pockets, and the one in the front is what I use to keep all of the receipts. Now, when I get home, I go ahead and pull out those receipts and I put them into my inbox so that they're all there for me when I need to process it. My husband does the same. If he ever goes out and buys things, he knows to come home, pull out the receipts, and put them into the little box within my inbox. Collecting it all in one place makes it super convenient for me to sit down and process it all in one sitting. Category number 3 is manuals. This one's tricky because how often do we refer to manuals? Not very often, but when we do need them, they can be hard to access. So the way I make my decisions on what to do with a manual is, if it's easy to find online, then I know that I can throw out the physical copy. If that's not the case, I will use an app on my phone called Scannable, and I will scan the manual and I will upload it into my digital filing cabinet on an app called Evernote on my computer. I know this is very specific, but to give you an example, when I lived in Korea, I bought an essential oils diffuser from Muji. Because I bought it in Korea, the entire manual was in Korean, and I'm not very comfortable in that language. So what I did was I had to search on Google to find the manual in English so that I can learn how to care for it properly, so that, I make sure that I clean it out on time, I'm not letting things build up in there. And because it was such a pain in the butt for me to find, what I did was I screenshotted the page with the maintenance care, and then I saved it into my Evernote digital filing cabinet so that now when I do need to look it up, I can just open up Evernote and search Muji diffuser and it'll be there for me. Category number 4 is letters and cards from loved ones. Now, if you know me, I am a giant sucker for handwritten notes and letters. I'm just very, very sentimental. And in my experience, even talking with friends, it seems that this is one category where they have a lot of trouble because it's like, what do I hold on to? And I don't want to throw that out, but then how do I store them? So here's my system. I keep everything from my husband, and I have a folder for him in our physical filing box. I also physically keep some that have been really significant to me, whether they're from friends or from subscribers. And what I like to do with them is to stick them in the little pockets in my journals so that when I do come across them randomly, it's fun to read and it's encouraging. Everything else gets scanned and it goes into Evernote. It doesn't go into my digital filing cabinet, but it will go into another folder. It's the same kind of system, but it's a different folder and it's called Mementos, and that is specifically there for me to store my scanned handwritten notes and letters. Another reason I love this is for when I receive gifts that maybe I can't use, but I still want to document receiving it. So for example, my friend recently sent me a necklace, but I can't wear it because I'm allergic to it. Now, I want to remember that she sent this to me and that she wrote me a note with it. And so I took a picture and I uploaded that into this folder. That way I have that for myself, and then I can go ahead and give it a better home. Category number 5 is kids' artwork. Now, I have friends with multiple children, and what I've heard from many of them has been the fact that, if they receive a piece of artwork from their child or a letter, and feeling like if they keep certain things from this child, they want to be fair and keep everything from all the other children, and that really builds up quickly. I don't have kids of my own, so I don't understand the full extent of mommy guilt from throwing out my child's artwork, but it did make me wonder, what would I do in the future if my child were to make me these pieces of art? And then I realized, oh my gosh, I already have a system. Because before I moved out to Hawaii, I was a kindergarten and elementary school teacher for roughly 17 years, and I have received so many letters and drawings during that entire time. And before my current digital system, I realized that I used to buy all these binders and those accordion folder things so that I could make more space to save everything that I was getting. And my mind's being blown right now because I'm just realizing this now, but I took all of that when I moved from New York to Korea, and then I accumulated even more things as a teacher in Korea. And by the time my time there was coming to a close, I knew for sure that I didn't want to have all that stuff moving to Hawaii. So here's my system. I scan it just like I would with the handwritten notes and letters, and I will put that into the Mementos folder in Evernote. And in the body of that file, I'll write a little note just so that I remember when I taught this child or at what school, and I'll save it under the child's name. I've also saved funny things like this one kid who drew a picture of a kid holding an actual hoe hoe and a hoe bag and then labeling them so. When I have my own kids, I'm sure I'm going to want to physically hold on to certain things to display it, but I think I would have something like a one in, one out rule, like perhaps like a bulletin board in our home, and whatever artwork is hanging there, I would take that off if I wanted to replace it with something else. I don't know, but we'll see. Hey, if you're interested, I can show you how I process the papers in my inbox, you know, the ones that take more than 2 minutes, along with showing you my physical filing cabinet, more like file box, my digital filing cabinet, as well as my digital mementos box. If this sounds like something you'd want to see, leave me a comment below, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss it when I upload. Thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in 2020. Bye!